Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, December 19th, 2011. Welcome to the Elmhurst City Hall. If you could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we have a troop here.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Alderman Levin.
I'm sorry, I'd like to introduce Troop 78 out of Sandburg Middle School. I was almost going to say junior high, but that wouldn't be right. Scoutmasters Mike Heinzel and Jeff Klang, and if you would want to have your scouts start us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Troop.
Thanks, troops. All right, and to make this meeting official, Clerk Vanderwall, if you could please call the roll.
Heza. Here. Gutenkopf. Here. Leader.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Bram.
Here.
Lomsky. Here. York.
Here.
Hipskin.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Levin.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Morley.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
14 present, 0 absent.
14 present with 0 absent. We have an official quorum, and we have a lot on our agenda today, and some great things happening. One of the great things I like to do is swearing in police personnel. We've got some promotions that we're going to be giving out tonight. I would ask Commander Mike Burrows to meet me up at the right podium up here. Commander Burrows. I should say Sergeant Burrows, but after he takes this oath, he will be a commander. And we have the best in police and fire and all of Chicagoland, and Mike Burrows is a pillar, an example of the best. So, Michael, I'd ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly, I state your name.
I, Michael Burrows,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of of Elmhurst Police
I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Elmhurst Police
as commander to the best of my ability.
as commander to the best of my ability.
And I do hereby dedicate myself in protecting the rights, lives,
I hereby, what was it?
dedicate myself to protecting the rights,
I hereby dedicate myself to protect the rights,
lives,
lives,
and the property of the persons whom I serve.
and the property of the persons whom I serve.
I pledge to be completely honest in word and deed,
I pledge to be completely honest in word and deed,
to provide equal protection under the law to all persons,
to provide equal protection on the laws of all persons,
to be fair and impartial
to be fair and impartial
in my treatment of all persons,
in my treatment of all persons,
to adhere to the law enforcement code of ethics,
to adhere to the law enforcement code of ethics,
and to direct my daily efforts
and to direct my daily efforts
toward achieving the mission,
toward achieving the mission,
values, goals, and objectives of the department.
values, goals, and objectives of the department.
I will at all times support the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America.
Excuse me.
I will at all times support the Constitution
I will at all times support the Constitution,
and the laws of the United States of America
the laws of the United States of America,
and the state of Illinois
the state of Illinois,
and the ordinances of the city of
and
Elmhurst.
the ordinances of the city of Elmhurst.
So help me God.
So help me God.
God bless you, buddy.
Thank you.
Commander Michael Burrows. God bless, Commander. And next up is Sergeant, or soon-to-be Sergeant, Michael Weehee. Michael, if you please raise your hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Michael Weehee,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a Elmhurst Police Sergeant
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of an Elmhurst Police Sergeant
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
And I do hereby dedicate myself
and I do hereby dedicate myself
to protecting the rights, lives, and property of the persons whom I serve.
to protecting the rights, lives, and properties of the persons I serve.
I pledge to be completely honest in word and deed,
I pledge to be completely honest in word and deed,
to provide equal protection under the law to all persons,
to provide equal protection under the laws of all persons,
to be fair and impartial in my treatment of all persons,
to be fair and
impartial,
impartial in my treatment of all persons,
to adhere to the law enforcement code of ethics,
to adhere to the law enforcement code of ethics,
and to direct my daily efforts
and to direct my daily efforts
toward achieving the mission,
toward achieving the mission,
values, goals, and objectives of the department.
values, goals, and objectives of the department.
I will at all times support the Constitution
I will at all times support the Constitution
and laws of the United States of America
and the laws of the United States of America
and the state of Illinois
and the state of Illinois
and the ordinances of the city of Elmhurst.
and the ordinances of the city of Elmhurst.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Absolutely. If the families would like to come up and take pictures with their prospective promotees, Commander Burrows and Sergeant Weehee, you're welcome to come up, and if you want to do a family shot real quick, you're welcome to. I know Mr. Commander Burrows has quite a bit of family here in the audience. You're welcome to come up real quick to do a quick photo op. If you want to do them together, that's fine too. Family?
Just gonna burn your way through
You
your
okay? Okay.
I know.
And if you'd like to shake the council members' hands, that's great too.
Sergeant. Congratulations. Thanks for your hard work.
Job well done.
Commander? Thank you. Congratulations, Mike.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mike. Good.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You guys are making it easy. 2 points. Congratulations, Mike.
Commander?
Watch this.
So what's up? Congratulations.
One right before.
Hey, did your kid join the mafia?
One at a time, all right, yeah.
Proceedings.
Does he know all this?
Did he get promoted?
Get lined up here.
Let's get the new commander up here for a photo.
Hey, Michael. Guess we want the mayor in the picture.
Hammer him now.
Hey, I'm missing some mint.
Quick, eat him.
Who's got the mints?
Apparently Morley does.
Okay.
How you doing, Danny?
I'm hot. I'm on fire.
I'm going to have to put my track shoes on tonight because we have a lot to be proud of tonight here in Elmhurst, Illinois. As the room clears, I would ask the folks from Metra that came out today. See Stevie?
Christmas parties this year.
I think you can see what Elmhurst and our fine officers and their families all about. It's a great day for the city of Elmhurst. I believe Lynn is from Metra. She's here in the audience. Lynn, if you can meet me by the podium there as well too. Before I go down and actually present this, show a check that just came in, which I think was terrific. Actually, I got elected mayor in 2009, and we had a parking deck that was underway, and we were coming out of the ground with this parking deck. And City Manager Borchard, myself, and Representative Rebelletti and Senator Pankow sat down to try to figure out how we could try to get some dollars from Metra, and how we could be a partner with this. And I give tons of credit to City Manager Borchard because this project was really already underway, and it's tough to get grants when projects are already coming out of the ground. But not only did we get a commitment from Metro of $2.5 million, which many of us thought we might not see because of the situation that the state was in, but we received the check literally within the last week. So I have blown up a check for $2.5 million, which I would like to come down and congratulate Lynn from Metro.
Yeah, we don't want it to bounce.
This was and actually, Lynn, if you'd like to say a few words on behalf of Metro.
Okay. Good evening, and thank you for inviting me. First of all, I wish to congratulate the mayor, the city council, the management, Tom Borchard, who has left and we have worked with for years, and city staff for a job well done in overseeing the design and construction of the parking deck. Metro has always enjoyed a positive and a productive working partnership with the city of Elmhurst. This $2.5 million contribution of state capital bond program funds is Metro's most recent commitment to the city and its residents. It has been a pleasure to work in cooperation with the city on this project, and we look forward to maintaining our partnership in the years to come.
Thank you, Lynn. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lynn. This is a great day for Elmhurst. This was money that we were waiting for some time, and it had to go through the proper channels. Many people, including people in this room, thought it would never come and criticized us for even building this deck. This deck was built on time, under budget by about $1.5 million, and we brought home $2.5 million from Metro. So, and the deck is full. God bless that. So, God bless City Manager Borchard, who really, I would say, I have to give kudos to anybody. It was City Manager Borchard that really made this happen. So we came from great lineage and great people, great staff members. I just shook that cookie jar, but City Manager Borchard really laid the pavement to get this done. So thank you, Lynn, for your support from Metro. It's been a great partnership. We look forward to many future years of partnering with Metro, and that's it. Thank you. And we have more recognitions tonight. We have item number 5. We've got 4 more recognitions, one of which is a District 205 recognition on behalf of Kickoff for Kids. And I believe we have Lance Walker in the room. Lance, if you would please come to the podium and talk about these honorary teachers that make the difference in lives of young children. Kickoff for Kids, and I see President Mike Lespiza in the back room, who's coming up as well, is a nonprofit 501c3 that helps local families and really fills a lot of gaps. And I just can't speak enough about them. They're a great organization, and they're here tonight to recognize some teachers that have done some great things. Lance, take it away.
Thanks, Mayor DeCiani. Just started to say sorry we don't have $2.5 million check to present you tonight, but give us some time. We'll work on it for you. My name is Lance Walker, and this is Mike Lespiza. We represent Kickoff for Kids. We're a local charity, like the mayor said, that we really support a variety of children's programs in the local Elmhurst community here. And one of the key things that really initiatives we started about a year ago was a Star Educator Award program. What it basically is, it's like a Teacher of the Month. Mike and I and most of our board members have kids in our community who go to school, and one of the key things that we really wanted to try to do was reward the teachers. And this is a way that we came up with this nomination process. Teachers can be nominated by children, their students, or adults, or a combination of both. We've seen nominations like that. And what we try to do is each month pick a nomination that best describes what the teachers do for us. And obviously, I think no one has ever said, yeah, the teachers get enough gratitude, and this is just one way to try to say thank you for all the help that you do. And we've got our fall award winners here tonight. If you guys would come up now, I'll introduce you. Come on up. We have our November winner here, Gretchen Borwinkle. Our Gretchen is a second grade teacher at Field School. We have Pat Fox here. This is Pat's retiring this year. She's a kindergarten teacher at Jefferson. So we're all excited for her. So a hand for Pat. And Michelle Quinn was our October winner. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight, but she's I think, second grade teacher from Emerson. So we just wanted to honor these people. Generally with the nomination, they get a few different things. They get kind of a award, a little plaque, paperweight, with their name engraved on it and the month that they won the award, along with a $300 gift certificate that they can use for school supplies for their students. So we think it's something that obviously everyone should support it. But if you want to have a nomination, please go to kickoffforkids.org. Our website's under construction right now, bigger and better in January of 2012. But you can make a nomination, or you can mail it in right to our main headquarters right here in Elmhurst. Anything else to add?
Nice job, Lance.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Congratulations. We invite the teachers and Lance and Michael to come on up and shake the hands of the council members. We appreciate all that the teachers do. Jefferson School is one of my favorites. That's where my daughter went to kindergarten. So, and all the schools in this town do such a great job, and it's because of the teachers that make that happen. Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations, night work. There you go. Thank you very much.
And thank you.
That's a great job.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations. Watch your
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it.
You and congratulations. You want to thank you and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations for your retirement. Watch your step. You know, he's like, we're not staying. It's not on.
All right. And on to our next item is I think, good news from a man who raises money for those in need. This year I had the pleasure of being up in a lift with him. When we fired the gun, there was roughly 6,700 runners, walkers, good guys, good ladies, good families that were out there trying to help people in need for food, people that might be hungry, and all that money stayed in DuPage County this year. The man that started this event and continues to be the leader and does a great job, Mr. Dan Gibbons. Danny?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You missed it by 900. It was 7,600, not 6,700.
Oh, that's right. You're
But
right.
who's counting? Anyway, I think it's only proper that that myself, representing the committee, and my right hand, Tony Cazzone, just come here and give you a brief overview of what happened and where we went from September until November 24th. I'd like to thank the City Council and Mayor DeCiani for believing in the need to change and improving the course. And quickly and briefly, it became necessary this year, and rightly so, to keep all the money in DuPage County. And we felt a need that we were going to grow as an event. And for those that don't know, the Turkey Trot's a 5K fun run in Elmhurst, and we raise money for the hungry and homeless. And so it seems like a long time ago when Chairman Wagner and we met with the Public Affairs and Safety Committee, expressed our concerns, fielded questions and their concerns, took it to a vote and brought it to City Council, and it was unanimous to vote for a new route. And I'm happy to say that on Thanksgiving Day we had 7,619 runners and walkers. The largest route that we had prior to that, the largest crowd that we had prior to that was 6,600, so we increased it by 1,000. And it was quite a sight to see from up there. We netted, after paying all our bills, we netted $159,000. And what that enabled, our six benefactors were United Community Concerns Association, which Mr. Dyer is a board member and treasurer there. And they feed so many needy families in the area and seniors. And now they have a little bit in their coffers when somebody comes to them for help, that they can take care of somebody readily. When somebody comes to you for help and you're hungry, they don't need your help 3 days from now. They need your help today. And thankfully, you're able to do that. Also, DuPage Pads has also been a benefactor of ours for years. And with their share, they're going to be able to buy countless blankets, coats, hats, gloves, and hygiene products for those that are unfortunate and do not have a home, and live from night to night, going from satellite home to satellite home with DuPage Pads. The other benefactors, the new benefactors, are Catholic Charities, Emergency Service. They deal in food coupons, $10 at a time. If a family comes for help, and depending on the size of the family, they will receive food coupons to Jewel or Dominic's or wherever, depending on their need. And from anywhere in the county, they can come to the Lombard office. Loaves and Fishes Community Pantry out of Naperville. They're an amazing organization. They feed, I think last Saturday, I talked to Charles McClemens, the executive director. They had 168 families come in where they were fed, where they received food. People's Resource Center, right across from the old courthouse in Wheaton. Their food pantry is open 6 days a week, and they average 111 families a day that they take care of. And the West Suburban Community Pantry, which is Lyle Woodridge out near Seven Bridges, they do the same thing. Just to quantify it a little bit for you, to show you what we do, and I explain it to my committee, and it really makes it amazing. For those agencies that buy strictly food, each agency received $26,500. That's what 159 divided by 6 is. So for those agencies that buy strictly food from the Northern Illinois Food Bank at 18 cents a pound, each agency purchased over 147,000 pounds of food. And that breaks down even further to 73 tons. So for those of us that are fortunate enough to have a meal when we go home, there are many that are not. I think Chairman Cronin told me that there are 160,000 families in DuPage County that are on the brink of poverty. So that's why we do what we do. This is our 28th annual. Over the years, we've raised $2.2 million plus. But guess what? In a month, all the food that and the money that we gave out is probably going to be gone. So we're going to keep doing it again. Again, thank you to the City of Elmhurst, the City Council, Mayor DeCiani, the Elmhurst Police. Those that aren't working that day are doing the water station at the halfway point. The Elmhurst Fire Department, the Department of Public Works, Department of Streets and Sand. We heard very from Mike, from Chief Cop. He said if they had 3 phone calls that might have been even like a hint of a complaint, that would be a lot. And I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but 7,600 people, 3 phone calls. And with the guidance of our alderman, I said, just get the word out. And Patty Spencer had the foresight to say, let's put it in the water bill. Let's put the new route in the water bill. Mayor DeCiani did a robocall. I tirelessly walked with many volunteers, the neighborhoods, to put the new map out there. We feel that nobody was inconvenienced, at least we hope not. Again, thank you to the City of Elmhurst for your support over the years and for your patience as we grow. And unfortunately, the need is going to be there again next year. Tony and myself and the rest of our crew will be there. Thank you very much.
Let's hear it for Dan Gibbons. Also want to acknowledge his wingman, Mr. Tony Cazzone, who actually is our chief water guy here for City of Elmhurst. He's our wingman. Dan's wingman, and I just want to acknowledge all the good work that you do, Tony. Thank you for your service. Right. 7,600. God bless. That's fantastic. Now we have another award, item 5C, and I'll need Jim Caviton to meet me up here at the podium. And I'm going to bring the next award with me, so I think I did about 6 miles up here today. All right, fun things in Elmhurst, and one thing about our police department and our fire department is they as a team, make this town safe. And proof of that is an award, which we receive often, but this is the award presented to the City of Elmhurst Police Department in recognition and appreciation of exemplary enforcement efforts in support of the Operation Lifesaver Program. Achievement of Excellence Award presented by the Illinois Operations Lifesaver Enforcement Committee this 13th day of December 2011. This award was given to us last week. Alderman Wagner and I were present at that reception, but we thought this needs to be honored at a council meeting. We've had, and I'll let Commander Kavitan talk about, actually Deputy Chief Kavitan, talk about the things that he's done, and I believe virtually a zero fatality issues since a certain date. So, Jim, congratulations on the award, because this is really your leadership that has brought this city to get this, but I also want you to talk about what you've done. Jimmy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members. Actually, we started this program back in 1994 after we suffered 3 fatal collisions at railroad crossings in 12 months. When we saw that, unfortunately, I was the evidence technician that had to handle all 3 of those, and that's a very gruesome thing to have to handle. Right after that incident, I was having a conversation after a group volleyball game. A bunch of us from the police department used to play volleyball together, and I was made aware, I was kind of a younger patrolman at the time, that there is a section in the Illinois Vehicle Code that prohibits pedestrians from violating those gates, flashers, and bells. So we started kind of a program that covered all the different facets of how you could approach a problem like this. Our Public Works, our Park District, all of us got together, and we designed some things in Elmhurst that were copied in many different parts of the country. The signage that you see at the railroad crossings was designed by a couple of my officers and put together by the Public Works Division. Originally, before they had the technology that they had today, they used to put those stickers on the signs by hand, cut them out with little scissors and put them on there. Those cones that you see down the center of the streets, I wish we would have somehow copyrighted that, because a few years after we put those down, that was put together by our Public Works Director at the time. A company came to be called Quick Curb, and now they sell those setups going down the center of the road in many different parts of the country. After we had that and we started this program, we're in our 18th year of only having 1 fatal collision, when we had 3 in a period of 12 months. And we've gone now, I think it's 13 or 14 years with no collisions at all. So it's really been successful, and it's been successful because all the different parts of the city work together, and of course the support of the police department, the police chief, and the city council. When a lot of times when you have a problem like this that's a little squeamish, that causes some angst in some people when you write tickets and stuff like that, easily somebody can come and say, you better stop doing that because we're getting bad press. But everybody said, keep doing what you're doing, and we kept working on it. And at this point, our program is being taught. I frequently get a call. I sent the city manager an email the other day about them copying our program in Utah. I've taught this program in Baton Rouge. I've taught it in Galveston. I've taught it in New Orleans. I've taught it in Florida. In fact, I was the only one that taught in Hawaii last year. We've even taught in 3 other countries. So it's being copied all over, and a lot of the suburbs around here have copied our signage. So it's been very successful, and I thank the city council and the whole city for their support. It's really worked out very well.
I'd invite Deputy Chief Kavitan to shake the hands of the council members, and also Dan Gibbons, chairman of the Dan Gibbons Turkey Trot, and Mr. Anthony Cazone to come up and follow suit. I think it's good to have us shaking the hands of the aldermen, because they are really the ones that get it done. So come on up, guys.
Yeah, you bet.
Congrats.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Donnie, good man. Congratulations. Good job.
Congratulations, no problem.
No, don't take that away from my street.
Congratulations. Lehman next year. Yeah, let's go.
It was awesome. I said, don't take it away from my street.
Okay.
If I have time.
They sent it over to Orchard's house. You can go with this rocking chair. Thanks, Tony. Thank you for doing the closet just in case. You get a game show like that. Someone's gonna, yeah.
I have to give kudos to City Manager Grabowski, who reorganized the dais, made it nice and orderly, and it's actually really good for handshakes, too. Everybody goes in one shot. So. Chairman Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to point out in the next item is it's a proclamation for Mr. Brian Feeney, and I've had the pleasure to give the council a little background. I've had the pleasure of watching Brian grow up as a little boy, and he's turned into an amazing young man. And last night, he received the highest award you can possibly receive as a scout. He got the Eagle Scout award. He did that by doing several years of work, but culmination of a lot of major projects, and I just felt it necessary that everybody should realize that in Elmhurst, as a character counts community, Eagle Scouts should be recognized, and the mayor felt equal with that, so I appreciate your
It's always my pleasure, Mr. Chairman.
your haste in getting the proclamation, but certainly congratulations, Brian, you deserve it.
Thanks, Chairman Wagner. And with that said, I would invite Brian Feeney and his mom and dad and his grandfather to come on up and for this presentation. The City of Elmhurst has got a proclamation for you. Brian? Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Okay. Come on up. And we can take some pictures too later. All right. So proclamation on behalf of the City of Elmhurst. Whereas Brian Feeney graduated from Visitation and York Community High School and is a freshman at Michigan State, majoring in political theory and constitutional democracy with a second degree in economics. Whereas Brian is a member of the National Honor Society and was awarded the Social Studies Department Student of the Year in May of this year. And whereas Brian not only excelled in academics, but played football, wrestling, and was 4 years on the lacrosse team, served for 4 summers as an Elmhurst Park District lifeguard, and held an internship in the office of State Representative Chris Nybo. And whereas he joined scouting as a first grader, earned numerous merit badges, and earned the Boy Scout of America Order of the Arrow in 2009, the rank of Eagle Scout in the spring of 2011, and participated in a number of high adventure trips. And now, therefore, I, Peter D. Ciani III, Mayor of the City of Elmhurst, do hereby proclaim Monday, December 19, 2011, as Brian Feeney Day in the City of Elmhurst and extend best wishes to him and his accomplishments and his future endeavors. God bless Brian. And I think it's appropriate, not only do we have an Eagle Scout in the room, but we've got hopefully some future Eagle Scouts in the room too. So how's that for a coincidence? So thank you, Brian. Thanks. And all the Feenies. Okay, at this time I'd go on to item 6, which is the receipt of any written communications and/or petitions from the public. If there's anyone that has any written communications and/or petitions, please rise and present those to Clerk Vanderwald at this time. Anyone with any petitions and/or written communications? Hearing none, I go on to public forum. At this time, I just, Clerk Vanderwald, if there's anyone signed up today for public forum.
We had one person signed up, Mr. Mayor, Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys.
Mr. Pakash, and as you know, we have 3 minutes. And we always like to hear from Claude. Thank you, Claude.
It's been an interesting year for the residents of Elmhurst. They've been affected by foreclosures, high unemployment, increases in taxes. But I think last meeting's report by Berg and R&J shone a light on the failures of past administrations and mayors. The residents of this city have paid through their water bills, through their sewage bills, for the maintenance and improvement of the system. Now, you are faced with a huge burden. Maybe not of your own making, but you will decide just how much the people of Elmhurst will pay. And I got a feeling they'll pay dearly. It's unfortunate, but the citizens, unfortunately, can only pay, they can't spend. And I'd surely like to know where all that maintenance money went. But on a softer note, I'd like to wish the mayor, the council members, city staff, employees of the city of Elmhurst a joyous and safe Christmas and New Year's. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Clyde. Thank you.
There's no one on the
That's it? Okay. We will move on, officially close public forum at this time, and move on to announcements. Anyone for announcements at this time? Anybody with announcements? Alderman Pezza.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two. The first one is to let everyone know over the next couple of days, thanks to a wonderful First Ward resident who brought this to my attention. We gathered several volunteers. We will be cutting yellow ribbons for anyone interested to tie around your front yard tree in support of the end of the war and honoring any returning troops. If you would like to tie a ribbon around your tree, they will be available after Wednesday at the Elmhurst Library for pickup, or that coffee shop at 124 West Park, across from the train station, or at the Elmhurst Photo Boutique, the old Elmhurst camera shop on Spring Road, 535 Spring Road. That'll be a nice way to recognize any of our Elmhurst soldiers that are returning. And also, just a quick thank you to people for shopping Elmhurst. I've been trying my best to do a lot of my Christmas shopping in town, and the stores are packed, the parking lots are packed, restaurants are busy. The business owners seem very, very grateful to the support they have been receiving, and residents have been, when I run into people, they say, I'm shopping Elmhurst, I'm shopping Elmhurst. So I want to say thank you to all of them, and to continue to shop Elmhurst as much as they can. And I believe it's actually paying off. So it's a great thing for everybody, and keep doing it. So.
Very good. Anybody else for announcements? Alderman Dunn.
Just want to mention this evening with all the recognitions we had for various worthy causes. Didn't want to mention this 2 weeks ago because we had such a long meeting. We had, Alderman Leader and I had a bevy of complaints regarding West Avenue in our ward, and we had began a project to get that fixed, and in the late September timeframe, there was a hint that we might push that out into the springtime because of scheduling issues and lack of resources. And I want to thank R.W. Duntman and their group there for pushing that forward, giving us a commitment to get that done. And it's been a big improvement in that section of the city. We've had quite pleased that we've had a lot of thank yous from the residents, not only for the smooth ride, but also the residents that live on West Avenue, how much quieter it is in their own homes. So glad we got that done before the snow fell this year. And again, I wanted to feel it's okay to thank our contractors that do a good job for the city. Also, the staff that was conducting the construction was extremely professional, from what I'm told. So just wanted to throw that out there, and we appreciate the job well done.
Well done, and to two fine aldermen that really saw that through, because I know you guys, Alderman Leader and Alderman Dunn, were both very cognizant of that and trying to get it under the timeline, especially with the elements changing in the winter. So good job to you guys, City Manager Grabowski, Mike Hughes, West Avenue, Spring Road, all those streets are just, they came through. So anybody else? Alderman Leader.
I thank Alderman Dunn. I thank you, Mayor. I would also say at a crucial meeting that we got some crucial help from our state representative, Dennis Rebelletti, who was there at the meeting, and he added a little state heft to Alderman Dunn and myself and Jim Grabowski, who did a great job on this, and Mike Hughes. So I can't tell you how relieved Alderman Dunn and the residents of the Second Ward are to get this done. It was the last project before time ran out. Thank you.
Well said, and not only state heft, he brought home a lot of state money to get that done. So, Mr. Rebelletti, thank your son for us.
His
Because
father is here.
he brought home the dollars for his town, and we appreciate that. So, all right, anybody else for announcements? Hearing none, we'll go on to the consent agenda. At this time, is there anyone that has an item they may have a question on or vote no on? At this time, please indicate that now. Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion and a second to approve the contents of the consent agenda in its entirety. Chairman Morley with a motion, seconded by Chairman Hipskin. And I would ask for roll call vote, please, from Clerk Vanderwall.
Wagner? Oh, gosh, I'm sorry, Morley? Hipskin?
Aye.
Healy?
Aye.
Levin?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Wagner?
Aye.
Mulliner?
Aye.
Pezza?
Aye.
Gutenkopf?
Aye.
Leader?
Aye.
Dunn?
Aye.
Graham?
Aye.
Palomski?
Aye.
York?
Aye.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
14 ayes, 0 nays. The contents of the consent agenda passes in its entirety. Move on to item 10, which is reports and recommendations. And I would just, really, my report came with that Metro check. Seeing 2.5 million come in last week was the light of my year. To be able to bring home that kind of dollars in this kind of an economy with a state budget that's under one of the toughest situations, I think kudos to, again, City Manager Borchard, handed off by City Manager Grabowski, City Attorney Storino, who worked a phenomenal agreement with Metra. It was a team effort, so that is my report, 2.5 million. Merry Christmas, Elmhurst. And we move on. Item 11 is a ordinance. I would ask Clerk Vanderwall to please read the ordinance, please.
Ordinance 056, 2011, an ordinance for the levy and assessment of taxes for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2011, and ending April 30th, 2012, of the City of Elmhurst, DuPage, and Cook Counties, Illinois.
At this time, I ask for a motion and a second to put this on the floor, please. Chairman Hipsky with a motion, Vice Chairman York with a second. Discussion. Alderman Gutenkopf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Once again, we find ourselves discussing the fiscal year 2011 tax levy and the impact land owned by Elmhurst Memorial Hospital is having on our property taxes. I'd like to draw your attention to these facts. The levy before us includes an amount intended to cover a change in the taxable status of that land. It assumes that at some point in the future, money we levy today will be paid back to the hospital because the hospital owns land that is now taxable, but in the future will not be. The decision as to whether or not this land and similar land owned by many other hospitals across the state will be subject to property tax is a decision that must be made by the Illinois legislature. This issue has not yet been assigned to committee. The city of Elmhurst proposes to collect this tax money today and hold it in a special account until such time as the Illinois legislature resolves the taxable status of this land. Elmhurst Memorial Hospital's new growth accounts for an increase to Elmhurst's overall equalized assessed value. So if we levy at the 2010 level, we're spreading the tax burden over more payers due to this increase. If we postpone collecting this proposed additional tax money today, we can levy the exact same amount as the 2010 tax levy, thereby lowering the amount every resident pays. In other words, we have the opportunity before us to lower property taxes for Elmhurst residents. What I said 2 weeks ago is still true. We don't need to levy extra money to cover a potential refund to Elmhurst Memorial Hospital. We don't need to put this money in a separate account and sit on it. We have options, and we should explore them. I propose that we leave this money in an account that I call taxpayer pockets. We should wait until the state legislature finds a solution, and at that point, determine how much and by when we need to pay the hospital back. We could find the funding in our general fund. We could find the funding in our line of credit. We could revisit the tax levy question after the taxability status has been finalized. It is irresponsible to hit Elmhurst taxpayers with this additional burden. Therefore, I move we amend the tax levy ordinance to reflect a total tax levy amount of $8,835,952, which would reflect a zero increase over 2010.
Second by Alderman Pezza. Discussion. Alderman Bram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to the additional levy, the Elmhurst Memorial Hospital tax levy portion, $198,662. I don't know if we have the answer today, but since our last discussion, I have talked with some school board members, and there was a statement made that I would like for the city to follow up on if the answer is not available today. And that is which, are we going to need to pay, if this actually goes forward, not only the $198,662 back if they become a non-for-profit again, but are we going to need to pay them being the hospital, interest on top of that going forward? I don't know when, as Alderman Gutenkopf has stated, I don't know when the ruling is going to happen. There's a lot still need to be done here, but is this something that we're just going to hold at this amount, or is there additional interest that we're going to have to be concerned about in the near term?
Thank you, Alderman. Questions, discussion?
Point of order, Mr. Chair. I understand what Alderman Gutenkopf's trying to do, but I think the motion needs to be further clarified. I understand it comes off of the city tax levy, but I believe the ordinance before us includes bond abatement. Actually, lack thereof, does it not? It's 16 million. Right, but the overall amount we're voting on is not the 8 million. It's 8 million's part of it. My only point is, to be clear, ordinance 056-2011 includes the total levy of $16,089,350. And I think we might want to just subtract, at least for this motion, 198,662 from it, or something of that nature. But I just want to be clear on the motion, that's all.
Alderman Gutenkopf, is it appropriate?
Yeah, if I can clarify it, then, essentially, yes, the motion before us also includes the library levy, but I'm concerned with the city portion of the levy, so you could reverse that and subtract the amount that was allocated for the hospital tax levy, $198,662.
Very good. Any other questions or discussion? Alderman Mulliner.
Yeah, I just have one comment, and I just want to make sure that everybody clearly understands this, because one of the things that we keep saying up here, which is technically not true, the hospital has not lost its tax exempt status. What we're dealing with is the property, the underlying property of the hospital itself, and the fact that they have gone through the process, the appropriate process, to apply for tax exemption for the underlying property and the building to make it tax exempt from property taxes. It's been approved by DuPage County and has now been moved to the state, where at this point it's in a holding pattern until the state makes a final decision. But I want to make it really clear that the hospital has not lost its tax exempt status. It's still tax exempt. It's just a process that things are going through right now.
Okay. Alderman Leader.
Could I ask somebody to quantify this amount? We're talking about 198,000 spread over 16,000 homes. Say, and I'm looking to, if somebody in the Finance Committee could do it, or if Marilyn Gaston could do it, based on, say, an average home in Elmhurst, which I think is presently worth $380,000. What does this work out to, say, on a monthly basis?
I believe we calculated something less than $1 a month for that $400,000 home.
Let me be sure I heard that right. Are we talking about $1 a month on an average home in Elmhurst?
Chairman Ipskin, is that correct?
I'm doing some math right now. It is very close to $1
Okay.
a month.
Approximately, Alderman, that's correct.
And let me understand this, if we...
Marilyn?
Actually, Marilyn is here. I think she
Oh,
can
I'm sorry.
quantify this. Well, I'm just doing math on my phone right now. Let me,
Marilyn Gaston, our Finance Director, will confirm.
In tonight's packet, I'm sorry, Alderman Gutenkopf, did you have a?
Oh, go ahead.
In tonight's packet, there is a schedule that the intent was to help clarify what this tax levy, as it is presented, means to the average homeowner. And in this case, we're using a $370,000 home. And it is, for the average homeowner, a flat tax levy. So in fact, the comparison to prior year tax for that same average homeowner, if the EAV does decrease, like the townships indicate that it will, the assessor's office, it will be a flat tax levy impact to that average resident. In fact, we're saying $1 less in total.
$1 less? Then
So it's essentially
actually
even.
reduce it. If we pass this ordinance as we passed it 2 weeks ago,
Yes,
it would actually be $1 less.
yes.
Thank you.
That's, everything being equal,
Mhm.
that our
Oh,
estimates
yeah.
of the EAV hold true.
Very good. Alderman Brown.
Thank you. In regards to it being $1 less, I think that's a true statement from the standpoint of a comparison. If in 2010, which according to the worksheet that we were provided, the average home value was $400,000, as of this year, the average home value that we're doing these calculations on are showing a 7.5% depreciation, meaning $370,000. So therefore, your home is valued less on average according to our information, but we are taxing the the homeowner the same amount. So I want to make sure that clarification is out there. It's not $400,000 home last year and $400,000 home this year. It's reflecting the 7.5% depreciation or reduction in the home value from last year to this year, and they're still paying the same amount. So there is a slight difference there that I wanted to make sure is clarified.
A follow-up, Mayor?
Alderman Leader?
Again, if we pass the original ordinance, and this money is not needed, what happens to the money? It stays, is it to be rebated next year, or?
City Manager Grabowski?
Yes.
Well, it would go into a fund, an escrow fund of some sort, where we would hold it, and at the time when it's determined whether we need to return it or not, in this case, we would have to decide where to apply that. I don't know that rebating it is a realistic goal as much as decreasing the levy in future years when.
Adjusting the levy accordingly next year. Again.
When it's determined that the money's not going to be paid back.
So we'd adjust the levy down to
We
reflect
could,
this money.
correct.
If it turns out that it just sits there and it's not needed. Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Alderman Levin?
Just on that point, it was my understanding that the funds would be restricted, but the use could be to reduce or to increase our reserves, as we've talked about, so they're restricted until we see what happens, but it doesn't mean that they're targeted for any kind of rebate, correct?
Any other questions? Alderman Healy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's very important, and I think this point came across somewhat well when we had this same discussion 2 weeks ago, but I want to reemphasize it just to make sure there's no confusion. The hospital situation is confusing, but if we do end up taxing the $189,000 or $198,006, that does not increase the taxes paid by Elmhurst residents. We are not covering for the hospital. We are not increasing the levy on homeowners because of what we're doing for the hospital. I think that's very important. It has to be clear. What we potentially lose is the ability to tax them less if the property is not given tax-exempt status. Then, if the property is not given tax-exempt status, then we will have lost a chance to potentially give the Elmhurst homeowner not a rebate, a lesser tax burden. So it's complicated, and I thought the schedule that Finance Director Gaston mentioned crystallized it, and I hope if we didn't give copies to the press that we can, so it's perfectly illustrated. But it's very important because I got a few questions. The typical Elmhurst resident homeowner is not covering for the hospital. The DuPage County assessor has told us, the York Township and Addison Township assessors have told us we need to account for the hospital as if they are not going to get tax-exempt status. So we are simply doing what we're told. Yes, the issue will be solved by the legislator, but for what we're having to do right now, we have to assume that the hospital is not going to get tax-exempt. So by us doing this, we are going to tax the hospital as if they are not tax-exempt. We are going to hold the money and see what happens. And we will have potentially lost the opportunity. The council debated 2 weeks ago. We made our decision. While I supported the position 2 weeks ago, and I would like to see us take that chance. In my opinion, the council has already debated the issue, has voted on the issue, so I will not support Alderman Gutenkauf's motion, and I will vote for the ordinance as proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Something to add, Alderman?
Yes, I'd like to add something. I think there's an awful lot of ifs here. If our estimate of EAV holds true, if the hospital status changes, if we could use it again in the future, why do we feel it's so necessary to collect money that we're going to sit on when we have an opportunity to finally lower people's property taxes. A flat levy misses the point. It completely is beside the point. It's only $1 a month. It's beside the point. That's what we say every time we raise taxes. It's only $14 more a year. Really, nobody's going to notice. And people do notice. People come in here all the time and tell us that this makes a difference. To talk about this as if the amount of money is insignificant is just as if we all have blinders on to what we're doing. We can leave the money in taxpayer pockets, and when we have to give it back, worry about it then. Everybody's talked about how this status of this property is now in the hands of the state legislature. They're not going to be in session till the spring, and the fact that things happen slowly in Springfield is not lost on all of us. And even if the decision were made in the legislative session in the spring, there's nothing that says that we're going to have to pay interest. Where did that come from? How do we know we're going to have to pay interest? Because people are asking about it doesn't mean that it's not going to be resolved in the legislature. If we hold the money, then maybe we would. Maybe we wouldn't. We don't know that. That's another if. And even if this status of this property is resolved so that the property is exempt from tax, nothing says that we have to write a check the minute the state legislature makes that decision. We've got options. We could spread our payments back to ourselves if we decided to exercise one of those options. I think we're missing a huge opportunity to say to residents, we hear you, we care about you, we lowered your tax burden, because we have this change in overall EAV that makes it possible for us to do it this year. And for all of us to say that we're not going to do it really isn't listening to the people that are voting for us. And I think that's irresponsible, and I am not going to support the tax levy with this amount of money left in it.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman President.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Alderman Gutenkopf's analysis, and for me, I guess the bottom line is, what would I prefer to do? Would I prefer to lower it, potentially, it says $1. This is all based on assumptions and estimates. Assumptions and estimates aren't always correct. And I know personally, I don't even like paying my mortgage escrow in so that the bank can hold it in an escrow account. And that's money I don't have every month. So I like to view the taxpayer dollars the same way I view my own dollars, because part of it is. And why are we going to collect money that we don't know if we need? We don't even know the exact amount. We won't know that exact amount until after the fact, and if it happens. So let's levy now exactly what we know we need and can get by with. Give the people a break, which we haven't done in a couple of years. And next year, after this comes about and we aren't basing this on assumptions or ifs or maybes, we'll know exactly what we're working with, how we have to pay it back, when we have to pay it back, and let it be known now that next year we may have to raise taxes a little bit more to make up for the allowance we gave this year, but maybe we won't. So that's a good thing for everybody. And I just don't like basing anything on assumptions or ifs, ands, or buts. And until I hear the exact dollar amount and whether or not it's happening, I say let the people keep their dollar in their pocket, let them go spend it at one of our stores, and next year we'll deal with it when we have to. So I support the amendment.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Mulliner.
Yeah, I understand the concept behind what you're trying to do with the amendment. My concern is this, that what we're doing is we're asking to get the money from the hospital itself and set the money aside from the hospital. And if then at a later date it's determined that we need to pay that back, we're paying back those same dollars that we got from the hospital. If we don't levy for that, then for practical purposes, the way I view it is, then the taxpayers are supplementing the hospital, because at that point we have to pay those dollars back, and we've got to take them out of the general fund, which the public paid, and not the hospital. So I want to make sure that we have the right understanding here, because basically what we're doing is we're asking the hospital to pay their fair share right now, set those dollars aside, not use those. We're saying the tax levy is going to be zero this year for the average homeowner. But we're asking the hospital to pay their amount so that we set it aside, so that we don't supplement the hospital when they come back to us in the end of the legislative session and say, we need that 2.5% back, and then we're going to have to take it out of the general fund that the public has paid for. So I cannot support the zero.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Levin.
Well, I think that's perhaps the most important point, but we talk about levying taxes based on assumptions. When I was in graduate school, we called that budgeting. You look for what you have to spend, and you know, why put money aside in next year's budget when that comes around if we think wages are going to go up 1 or 2%? Wait till it happens. That's not how you budget. You have to anticipate what we're going to need. And we can't put our heads in the sand and say, well, you know, if they don't get tax exempt status, they have it. There's no reason to believe they won't. So let's go with the probabilities and the expectations. You know, it's easy to get up here and say to everyone, I cut taxes, I cut taxes. That's easy. Why don't we cut them 10%? Because we need the money to operate the city. We've taken a very, very responsible position by saying we're going to control expenses. We know that we raised taxes significantly in past years. It's a zero tax increase. That's pretty good until we see where our funding sources are going to be. We're rehashing what we did last week. Do we know, can you promise me that sales taxes will be up, that the economy's not going to crash? Can you promise me that the hospital's not going to, you know, get the tax exempt status that we expected to have? We're basing it on the best assumptions we have and doing a very responsible job. It's easy to say cut taxes. It's harder to say let's do the proper budgeting. I absolutely will not support this amendment.
Thank you, Alderman. Chairman Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to add a few things in a comment. I would like to follow up with Alderman Mulliner's interpretation of this ordinance, and I think it was right on, spot on, and I concur wholeheartedly. So I want to commend him for making it very easy to understand a situation that's being debated for going in its third hour now if you roll over from the last meeting. I would also like to make just a note. There was a comment that was made that when decisions are made, we do it or we make it a decision because nobody will notice. And I can tell you, I can assure you, at least in my committee, and I would assume, at least the committee meetings I've been to, there's enough people that watch this show that I would really hate that we put that to the citizens that that's how we're managing the city. So I'd like us all to be very careful of the words we choose when we're trying to debate. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple things to say on this issue. Certainly, the hospital threw a monkey wrench into all of this, and it does make it a very confusing issue. I would like to again thank Alderman York, who after doing an incredible amount of work last time in preparation for the meeting, he wasn't satisfied with his minority report being supported. He went back at it again and worked with Marilyn Gaston and gave us this very concise schedule that, you know, I agree with Alderman Levin. At some point, you gotta work with projections. This projection shows that the current ordinance, as written, equates to a $1.20 tax decrease for every homeowner. In fact, what we're really arguing about is how big of the tax decrease is going to be. So I wanted to thank Alderman York for that. I'm not going to assume what anybody else is thinking, and I'm certainly not going to assign a pejorative statement to what a yes or no vote means. I think this is pretty simple. People up here either want to put $198,000 away. I think we've made that pretty clear, that this isn't a burden that'll be shouldered by the citizens if it stands as is. With the amendment, really what it boils down to for me is, do I think the city, at the end of the road, what I believe was going to happen is the hospital's going to get or retain their exemption status, their exempt status. I think that means the city takes a $198,000 hit. I think those are the questions that need to be asked. I don't think we need to make any suppositions about what anybody else is thinking or what support means for it. So that's the way I see it. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Any other questions? Alderman Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to briefly recap what I said before, because there's been other statements that I think need that clarification. The dollar and change difference from this year to last year proposed due to the fact that your average home value is decreased. It's nothing that we're doing here on why we're showing that dollar and change less compared from this year to last year. That's the 7.5% average home value going down 400,000 to 370,000. So I just want to make sure that we classify this appropriately. It's not our doings. We shouldn't take credit for something that's not ours. It's the average home value going down, and that's why you're seeing that difference. I would like to ask, Alderman Mulliner made some intriguing comments in regards to us, if we did not levy for the hospital. I was hoping that maybe Marilyn Gaston could speak to that, if that's an accurate statement, because that is not how I perceived the last column on the spreadsheet that was given to us, that zero amount. I thought in either case we were doing the levy for the hospital, especially since you see it in the total EAV, maybe not in the tax levy item. If we can have Marilyn speak to that, please, if Alderman Mulliner's comments were accurate.
Ms. Gaston, if you'd like to reply.
I would ask Alderman Bram to rephrase that question. I need to be clear on what question I am responding to.
Could I just defer to Alderman Mulliner instead of me trying to reiterate?
Alderman,
My comment was that we're putting forth a tax levy with a 2.5%, 2.25% increase. That increase is because we're going to be taxing the hospital this time at what it's currently valued at its assessed value. If we did not collect those dollars, we would still, at the end of the day, if we have to pay the hospital back, we would have to pay that from some fund. We'd have to pay the hospital back from some fund. Those funds more than likely would come from some form of property tax, which would, in my interpretation, would mean that the other taxpayers in Elmhurst would be paying those dollars back to the hospital. If we collect the money, we put the money aside, the hospital's paid the money, we're handing them back a check for the same amount.
I agree with that statement. Yes, at some point, if we did not pass the levy as it stands, with 198,000 in there, eventually, if the tax status becomes exempt and the city has to pay that money back, it has to come obviously from someplace. Most likely it would be the general fund, whether that's a tax levy or fund balance, cutting a project, that would be the council's decision. But it would have to come from someplace. The source of those funds most likely would be the residents of Elmhurst.
Alderman Dunn, you had your hand up?
Yes, I did. I appreciate everyone's input to try to simplify the issue, and I'm going to take a stab at it myself. Looking at the exhibit in the ordinance, the proposed ordinance, the city budget is in the ballpark of $68 million. That's including the library and the pension funds. The total amount to be levied is 16 million, so you're talking maybe 25% of that, or a little less. The portion that we're talking about for the levy is $8,835,952, which is about half of that, a little more than half of that. So we're talking 13% of the overall operating budget of these city entities. And the proposal is to keep that number exactly the same as it was last year, $8,835,952. That's what was levied last year. That's what is being requested this year. And so to me, that's really looks to be 0% increase. So I will support the ordinance as it's written.
Very good. Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Pezza.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess the way I'm looking at this is, no matter what, at the end of the day, the taxpayers are going to pitch in for this, because if we go with what we have before us, the standing ordinance this evening, it's 198 and some change more than what we levied last year, which is more. That 198 doesn't get sent as a separate bill just to the hospital. That 198 gets added in and separated and divided between all the Elmhurst taxpayers. That's how that works. It's not a separate bill we send just to the hospital to cover their portion. The amount is the amount, as far as I've always thought it worked. We send in the amount, it gets divided, multiplied, and all the formula they figure out, and that's how they figure out everybody's tax bill. That number is included. Unless something's changed since I've been understanding my tax bill, that $200,000 extra we're going to ask for gets divvied up and added in and multiplied and divided, and the formula's figured out, and we're all pitching in for it. So whether we pitch in today for an amount we're not sure of, or we pitch in next year for an amount we know we have to pay back, in my mind, that's the difference. If I'm paying today or paying next year, I'd rather pay next year when I know what I really have to pitch in to make up for whatever that dollar amount actually is. Because I don't think it's only the hospital we're sending a separate bill to. I think it's spread out over everybody's tax bill. That's my understanding.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman York?
First of all, I'd like to say I was inspired by Alderman Healy about 12:20 2 weeks ago in the morning, and caused me to arrange a conference with Marilyn and Tom to kind of go over this and try and make it a little clearer. I'm not sure I really accomplished anything other than the fact that you guys, everybody has a schedule in front of them. And I think one thing that we're kind of missing on here too a little bit is a concept of new growth. The hospital the hospital in the area it wasn't worth as much last year. The EAV wasn't there last year, so that's all new growth. And we're gonna, that's a really good thing and something that we can't always predict. And I'm just gonna use a couple examples, but there's a couple newer homes that were built on the corner of York Street and Church that were vacant lots before. And now those are new growth because there's $2 million plus homes there. So those are tax dollars that the city and all the other taxing bodies didn't have, quote unquote, access to. So we need to keep in mind that the hospital, the number that's kind of creating the $198,000 is new growth. And so, again, thanks to Chris for kind of bringing that up, and we were all a bit groggy that night, and I tried to get together with Marilyn and present a schedule here that shows that given everything that we know, and I certainly agree with Alderman Levin that 80% of our business is going to be estimates until we actually have all the results of the year-end at our year-end audit, that we're working on estimates. We're working on estimates of revenues, we're working on estimates of expenses, and we try and put it all together and balance it and be fair to everybody involved. Be sure that citizens have plenty of services, and be sure that citizens aren't paying too high of taxes, and be sure that we're restoring the economic viability of our city. These are all very difficult things, but what I was hoping to get to was that everybody would look at what's going on. Unfortunately, due to economic conditions, the EAV in the two townships that this city resides in has decreased. It's a fact of life. There's nothing that we can do about it. Unless everybody wants to go out and spend 7.5% more on the houses you buy in the future. That's one way we could resolve it all, is just increase everybody's asking price by 7.5%. That's the only way we're going to get around that. But when you look at it, to me, it looks to me like that if we do the tax levy that we debated 2 weeks ago, and it goes through, that the average homeowner, granted, the average home last year was $400,000. This year, it's $370,000. That person will pay $1.20 less on his tax bill this year. I think it's irresponsible, personally, to even consider financing this should it go the other way on us out of debt. We've got some other government entities that have made a pretty good habit of doing that, and we all know where they are. I cannot support the amendment at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've discussed this at last meeting. We've continued discussion today. I think all points are clear. I'd like to call the question, please.
Very good.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second to call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No.
Question's called. And at this time, I'd ask, this is on the amendment of the ordinance. I'd ask Clerk Vanderwall to please call the roll. It's on the amendment, not on the,
If you don't want the amendment, we vote no, correct?
yeah, if you don't want the amendment, then you vote no. If you want the amendment that Alderman Gutenkopf recommended, then you would vote yes.
Thank you.
The amendment is to amend ordinance 056, 2011 to reflect the removal of $198,662 from the tax levy for a total city portion in the amount of $8,835,952. Gutenkopf?
Aye.
Pezza?
Aye.
Leader?
Nay.
Dunn?
No.
Graham?
Aye.
Palomski?
No.
York?
No.
Hipskin?
No.
Healy?
No.
Levin?
No.
Kennedy?
No.
Morley?
Aye.
Wagner?
No.
Mulliner?
No.
4 ayes, 10 nays.
4 ayes, 10 nays, that motion fails. And we go to the underlying motion. And I would ask Clerk Vanderwall to call the roll, please.
Hipskin?
Aye.
York?
Aye.
Healy?
Aye.
Levin?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Morley?
Aye.
Wagner?
Aye.
Mulliner?
Aye.
Pezza?
No.
Gutenkopf?
No.
Leader?
Aye.
Dunn?
Aye.
Graham?
Aye.
Palomski?
Aye.
12 ayes, 2 nays.
12 ayes, 2 nays, the ordinance passes. We can move on to other business. Anybody with other business at this time? Hearing none, it is for a motion which, Alderman Healy.
Sorry, I wasn't quick enough. I have a question for staff, City Manager Grabowski. A few weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago now, ComEd was in to talk about the electrical problems. During that meeting discussion, pretty much every answer to every question posed to them was, I don't know, I'll get back to you. So I'm curious to find out, A, have they gotten back to us? And B, if they haven't, have they given us any sort of update as to when they will?
We've been talking to ComEd since then. What we did was we went back and reviewed the meeting to make sure that we got all the questions that the aldermen were asking, got those to ComEd. My understanding, Mike Kopp has talked to them today, and my understanding is that they have those answers. They'll be getting them to us in the next day or so. But we have been talking to them and trying to arrange a meeting to discuss the proposal for the extra tree trimming that they had talked about at the meeting. So Mike and I will be meeting with them next week to discuss that. As soon as we get the answers to the questions, we'll get them out to the aldermen.
Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else for other business? I also want to acknowledge one of our retired officers, Mr. Winkler, in the audience today. It's good to see Mr. Winkler. And at this time, I would like to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah to all of the folks from Elmhurst, and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Alderman Dunn with a motion, second by Alderman Wagner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Merry Christmas.